the other women business centers in Florida, the one in Melbourne, South Florida. We're super excited to welcome you all. We actually started this program last year. We actually started this program last summer, and we absolutely loved, Pamela Starr is our speaker, and we absolutely loved all the information that she provided, all of the activity, all of the connections that came out of it. So we were very excited to kind of kick this off this, let's say, summer, even though it's spring, but it's Florida, so it's basically summer. Yeah, it's just summer all the time. So we're super excited. We think this program is so important. It's such an important offering for us to have. Google is the way that, we function. It's the way people are finding your business, is the way people are interacting with you. So we think having this understanding of how to use all of those tools that Google offers, it's super, super important. And we are so very happy to have Pamela Starr joining us. We will start with, she will have this great presentation today. And then at the end, we will actually do breakout rooms where we will have a chance to kind of interact with each other and have some more conversations with each other, not just with me, but also with the ladies at the other women's business centers and with each other. So we're very excited. Feel free to, I see all of you writing in the chat and I love it. Feel free to ask any questions that way. I believe you can also maybe raise your hand and ask those questions, but I think the chat will be the way to go for today. This is a great, great opportunity to have those conversations with each other, but also with Pamela. Thank you so much, Pamela. We're super, super excited to kick this series off, and I hope you all take notes and all of you really gain something from this morning, this very early morning. So Pamela, I'll pass it on to you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and good morning to you all. For some unknown reason, I woke up wide awake at 5 a.m. So I've had plenty of coffee and I am ready to go. For those of you that might be still easing into your morning, don't worry, nothing I'm going to say is going to be overly complicated for you. But we're here today to talk about how you can get your business on Google Search and Maps. Some of you may have heard about a Google tool called Google My Business. Newsflash, that tool technically doesn't exist anymore, simply because Google rebranded that a couple of years ago. And so now we simply call that your Google Business Profile. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today. Just a little bit of background on me. I'm a professional trainer for Grow with Google, and I've got the greatest gig in the whole wide world. Pre-COVID, Google put me on an airplane and flew me all around North America to do in-person workshops for people just like you. And for all of the women's business centers that have promoted today's events, I have done in-person workshops for each of those individual centers in the past. Because of all the drama that we've all been through here in the last couple of years, Google is no longer doing face-to-face events. Instead, I've had the opportunity to help actually even more people by doing webinars, just like we're doing today. All of the Google programs that I do are all hosted by a nonprofit organization that is a Grow with Google partner. So I want to give a big thanks to the 3 women's business centers, including We Venture in Melbourne, Delray Beach, and Jacksonville, that have all kind of decided to join forces to bring this education to all of you. So let's start talking about your business profile. I'm going to go over a couple of things. Obviously, Google is a really big topic, and we don't have 4 days to talk about that. So I'm going to focus today just on your business profile. I'm going to talk a little bit about what is this tool and how can you use it. I'm going to talk about how you can set it up for the very first time if you haven't already done that. And I'm going to talk about how, if you already have a business profile, you can be sure that it was set up properly. Then I'm going to go into kind of all the ins and outs of the business profile. And hopefully that will give you some great ideas on how you can really maximize this tool to get strangers to get to know your business. And then don't worry, at the end of our conversation today, I'm going to share with you some more free resources that Google has to offer for you. I appreciate the fact that it's early morning. It's Friday. It's actually beautiful weather. I live in Tampa, so I'm not that far away from most of you. I think this is probably one of the last few beautiful days we're going to have before it just gets to be brutally hot. So I'm going to assume that you're going to forget everything that I tell you, except for please remember the resources that I share at the end of today's presentation. So what is this business profile? This is something, as I mentioned, some of you that have had businesses for a while may think of this as Google My Business. This tool has evolved a lot in the last couple of years, and Google is actually going through an evolution process on this right now. So some of what I'm showing you today may look a little bit different than what you would see if you actually popped into your business profile account this afternoon. Just know the content is all going to be the same for you. The business profile is a 100% free tool that is available to most small businesses, as long as typically during kind of regular times. And obviously we are not in regular times, and I don't know if we ever will be in regular times again, but if you see some of your customers face to face. So this is a perfect tool for businesses that are a retail business or restaurant. But my hunch is many, if not most of you, are not in those different types of business categories. If you are a home-based business, you absolutely can still use this business tool and hide your home address. And I'll talk to you in a couple of minutes about how you can do that. What's great about the business profile is it helps your business be found by people in your local community, no matter what device they are using to look for businesses. So that could be your desktop or laptop computer. It could be their tablet, and it could be their itty bitty smartphone. Just so you all know, today, on average, 50% of Google searches are being done on people's smartphones. Depending on the type of business you have, it may be dramatically higher. If you help people in their personal life, chances are more people will visit you on their smartphones. If you help people in their business life, chances are more people will probably be working with you on their computers. So you don't necessarily need to worry about that. Just keep that in mind that smartphones are incredibly important. When it comes to your business profile, it's important to understand this is not a set it and forget it tool. This is something that you really want to keep up to date. In fact, businesses with up-to-date profiles are 2.7 times more likely to be considered reputable. And think about that. If you were to look at some businesses' social media accounts and they hadn't posted anything in 6 months, you would wonder, well, are they even really bothering? Or if you looked at their website and maybe they had a page where they had upcoming events and either that page was empty or their last upcoming event was in October, again, you would think, does this business even really care? And so that's why you do want to be sure you keep your profile up to date. For those of you that want people to actually buy things from you, and I'm going to assume for all of you that are in for-profit businesses, you probably want that. Up-to-date profiles are 70% more likely to attract location visits, as well as 50% more likely to actually lead to a purchase. So you want to keep it up to date so that way people will feel more confident giving you their money. Now, just a note for those of you that might be here online with us who have nonprofits, this tool works exactly the same for nonprofits. In Google's world, Google tends to think of everything as a business. But if you're a local nonprofit, this works exactly the same for you. So don't get kind of thrown off by the word business. Here's an example of what a business profile could look like on somebody's itty bitty smartphone. They'll see photos and videos. The name of your business or nonprofit obviously will be there. You can write a description that people can read about your business. Any reviews people have written about you on Google will be available here for strangers to see. Don't worry, I'm going to talk all about reviews a little bit later on in the presentation. Your location will show up if you have the type of business where you welcome strangers to show up at your business during your regular business hours. If you are home-based, don't freak out because I will tell you how to be sure your home address does not show up here. For many of you, you will want to put your business hours on your business profile. For some of you, there may be certain situations where you might not want to, and I'll talk about that when we get to that part of the conversation. So let's get started talking about how can you create this profile for the very first time, or if you haven't looked at your profile for a while, sometimes people tell me they've kind of lost it. Excuse me. Hang on. Just a second. Alrighty, sorry about that. Hang on. All right, so this is what happens when I do presentations first thing in the morning. So just bear with me. My voice will clear up here in a second. All right, so if you want to go ahead and create your business profile for the very first time, what you need to do is to sign into your Google accounts. You know, it's funny, sideline here, whenever I get choked up like this, I promise it's not because I'm this excited about Google. It's just because this is the way that the world works. All right, so when you want to set up your Google account for the very first time, you do need to sign into Google. Now, this is one of the places where people who have had a Google business profile in the past, but haven't looked at it in a while, sometimes they get a little bit goofed up. What is a Google account? If you have a Gmail email address, you have a Google account. If you have more than one Gmail email address, you have more than one Google account. Frequently, I'll talk to people and they will say, I set up my business profile 3 years ago, haven't looked at it for a while, I'm trying to get to the back end of it and it's gone. Why did Google make it go away? Chances are good, Google did not make it go away. Chances are good, at some point, somebody flipped from using one Gmail email address to primarily using a different one. So you do want to be sure that you know what Google account you are in when you set this up. So once you're in the right Google account that you use for your business, which would be whatever email address you use for business, you would go to google.com/business. Start typing in the name of your business as you want customers to recognize it. Now, this is something which is really important to understand. Some of you may have formal names for your business. Maybe you're an LLC or a partnership or something like that. But you're doing business as something a little bit friendlier. You want to have the friendly name for your business here. Another tip that's important to understand is everywhere you are online where you talk about your business, make sure you are always using the exact same business name, meaning it needs to be spelled the same. You need to use the same punctuation. If I had a business called Star and Daughters, if I spelled out A-N-D, I would want to be sure I spelled it out that way everywhere and didn't sometimes use the ampersand and sometimes spell out A-N-D. And that's simply because over the course of time, Google will start to recognize you've got social media accounts, you've got a website, you've got reviews on Yelp, and Google will start to kind of collect them all together. So that way, when somebody's looking for your business on Google, Google will offer them all of the ways that they can connect with you. Now, Google does give you an opportunity to say, are you sure you spelled your name right? And I know that sounds goofy, but I personally am somebody who I think faster than I type. And so I always appreciate having an opportunity to just double check my own spelling. After that, you select a primary category for your business. Now, you cannot create your own category. You do have to pick and choose from the categories that Google has predefined. For some of you, that might be really easy. For others of you, if you have a really specific niche, it may be hard for you to figure out what is the best business category. Don't get too obsessed about the category. Just think of something that's broad enough to kind of include what it is that you specifically do. And you also do have an opportunity to get really specific about what you do. So that way you can be sure you're attracting the right customers. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. The next question is super important. Do you have a location that customers can visit? This is a yes or no question. So if you say yes, your business address will show up on Google Maps. If you say no, it will not. So for those of you who are home-based and you don't want customers driving around town looking for you and showing up at your front door, you would say no. Also, if your business has a PO box as your official business address, or if you have a street address, but it's really one of those mailbox places, that's those for-profit franchises that's next to the grocery store, you do not want to use those addresses here. Google will not accept a business profile that has a PO box. Oftentimes, Google will not accept a business profile that has an address that's at those for-profit places. And that's simply because Google doesn't want your ideal future customer looking at your address, driving to your location, and discovering, oh, wait, this is the strip mall next to the grocery store. I wanted to talk with Valerie, but Valerie's not here. Somebody else is there wanting me to buy stamps. So if you are home-based, you do want to say no here. Now, there are some other situations where even if you do have a business address that you might want to say no. And that would be an example of, let's say somebody is a contractor. Maybe you have a business address, but it's in like an industrial park. And that's where your subcontractors kind of come to pick up supplies. That's where, your accounting person is, that type of thing. But it's not really appropriate for customers to show up unannounced. In that case, you would say no there as well. Now, if you had said yes, you do have a location that people can visit, then Google will ask you, well, what is your street address? That needs to be the address that will be used by Google Maps to direct people to get from where they are at the time to where your business is. After that, then you do have the opportunity of also adding what is called a service area. Now, if you had previously said, no, I don't have a location, Google, that I want to show up on Google Maps, Google will put you straight into this place and will ask you what your service area is. And at its basic, it is Google wants you to say, how far are you willing to travel to meet with your customers face to face? So let's say I owned a plumbing company, Star and Daughters, and we would be willing to travel 30 miles to visit people in their homes to take care of their plumbing. I have the option of saying I'm willing to go 30 miles away from my business. You also can pick and choose different zip codes and different major metropolitan areas. Now, sometimes people will say, well, can I put the entire United States? Last time I checked, you can. Just keep in mind, this tool works best for people in your general local community to find you. If there are people that you could help virtually in California, chances are good Google will probably not show them your business profile because chances are good there are other businesses in California that are closer to them that might offer similar type services. So just kind of keep that in mind. The next thing that you need to do is enter your contact information. How can people get in touch with you? Typically, that will be your phone number and or your website. And that's pretty straightforward stuff. After that, then, Google does ask you to jump through a couple of hoops to verify your business profile. First, you do need to say to Google, yes, I am the person responsible for this business to do the marketing. And then Google will send to you what they call a postcard. Now, if you have, and that postcard, it's not really a postcard like we in Florida think of postcards. I tend to think of a postcard as that kind of rigid cardboard thing that's shiny on one side with, pictures of palm trees. It's actually really one of those pre-printed mailers that we get from the bank or from our credit card company that we have to peel open. And then there's a secret code on the inside. If you have previously given Google your business address, Google will mail that card to that business address. If you previously said, no, I don't have a location customers can visit, Google will then ask you for what is the address where your business truly functions. And for those of you who are home-based, you would need to put your home address. Don't worry, Google will not share that home address. They just want to send that postcard to you there, simply to verify that, yes, your business truly does exist. And I know sometimes it can feel frustrating to kind of go through these hoops, but it's actually a good thing, because what you don't want is some other person accidentally claiming your business for themselves. So that's why Google has us go through those hoops. Google says the postcard will show up in 5 to 7 days. Let's be real, give it a couple of weeks. Who knows what's going on with the mail system? Who knows what's going on with your local letter carrier? The world is just weird right now. So give it a couple of weeks for it to show up. So now let's talk about what's actually inside the business profile. Now, just so you know, for those of you that have had a profile for a while, there was an app that you could download to your phone called the Google My Business app. Google is actually getting away from using that app. It may actually be turned off. I did not check this morning to see if it was turned on or turned off. Now, the way that you would typically access your profile is, assuming you are in the Google account that you used to set up your profile, you can just search for your own business. And then when you find your business online at Google, it will allow you to pop straight into the back ends of your profile. So that way you can make updates. Once your business is actually verified, that's then where you can do updates and add more things to it. Obviously, you want to be sure that your business name is correct. Now, sometimes people will ask me about changing their business name. I suggest you approach that with caution. You can change your business name here. If you're making a very minor change, like if I was going from star A&D daughters to star ampersand daughters, that will probably be okay. But if you're making a fairly significant change to your business name, Google will ask you to re-verify your business. If I was going from Star and Daughters to Pamela's Pet Shop, that's a pretty dramatic business name. So just be mindful of that. Now, you previously chose the primary category for your business. Google will give you the opportunity here to choose up to 9 additional categories for your business. Now, for most of you, you're not going to need that, but there might be situations where maybe you do help people in different ways. So you might want to kind of pick and choose through the different business categories to see if there are more that apply to your particular business. Now, just so you know, you cannot create your own category here. And as far as I'm aware, I have never seen a published long list of the categories. So you might need to kind of hunt and peck a little bit until you find the right category for you. After that, you do have the opportunity to be sure you have the right address. For those of you that have a home-based business who you had set up your profile in the past and you didn't realize, oh my goodness, my home address is now showing up on Google Maps with my business, you can delete your address here. It may take a little bit of time to kind of fade away, but this is simply how you would do it. Now, for those of you whose business moves, you can put in the new business address here. Just know Google will absolutely suspend your accounts until you re-verify the business, simply because Google wants to be sure that the new address that you put in is truly the address of your business. Again, if you don't want customers showing up at your business unannounced, just leave that area blank. The next thing you have the opportunity to do is add your business hours. For many, if not most of you, you're going to want to put your business hours on your profile. And that's because 40% of people who are looking for a local business, They just want to know, what are your hours? Are you open on Sunday? We've got Memorial Day coming up. Are you going to be open on Memorial Day? Let people know when they can contact you. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat here. If you are in the type of business where you may not be available for people to contact you, or you may not be available to answer the phone for long periods of time, you might not want to set up your hours here. So an example of that is, let's say you are a midwife and your job is to help women when they're delivering babies. If you are sitting with a woman who's delivering a baby and you're going to be with her for the next 14 hours, hopefully not, and if people are trying to call you, chances are good you're not going to be available to answer the phone. So in that situation, you may not want to put your business hours, because people will get frustrated if they call you during business hours and you're not available to them. There is something that Google launched in response to COVID, which is called More Hours. And that was, remember, back in the day when a lot of the grocery stores were opening super early for seniors or people that needed extra help. That's what the More Hours is about. It doesn't really apply to a lot of businesses, but if it applies to your business, that's something that you might want to consider using. After that, you do have the opportunity to be sure you've got the right phone number and the right website on your business profile. Now we're going to talk about two things that are kind of sort of similar, but a little bit different. And those are attributes and highlights. We're going to start off by talking about highlights. Highlights are available to almost all types of business categories. Highlights are, there's only three things that Google considers to be highlights. Those are, is your business Black-owned? Is your business veteran-led? And or is your business woman-led? So I'm going to guess for most of you, your business probably is at least one of those, probably women-led. It may be all three of those. So if that applies to you, if any of those apply to you, definitely select those. Because what will happen is when people are looking at your business profile on their itty bitty phone, a badge will appear that will say, just like you see on the screen, Black-owned, veteran-led, or woman-led. One of the silver linings that I think has happened because of all this just freak out we've had for the last several years is people in your local community really want to support small businesses. We want to help businesses that we feel connected to. Sometimes we want to help businesses even if we don't have any personal connection with them. We might say, do you know what? This is a veteran-led business. My father was a veteran. I really want to help this business. Or this is a Black-owned business. Do you know what? I understand that they're really trying to build their business. I want to help them. So be sure that you're looking at those highlights and select any that make sense for your business. Now, those are available for virtually all business profiles. Attributes are kind of sort of similar, but kind of sort of different. Attributes are related to your business category. Certain businesses tend to offer certain things. So, for example, if you had selected the business category of retail gift store, many retail gift stores might offer gift wrapping. And if that's the case, if you selected retail gift store for your business category, if you looked in the attributes section, Google might give you the opportunity to say, do you offer gift wrapping? If you do, you could click on that. And then when people look at your business profile, there'll be a little blue link that says, or a little blue message that says offers gift wrapping. Now, if your business category is you're a plumber, to the best of my knowledge, plumbers don't offer gift wrapping. So they wouldn't have that opportunity to say that as an attribute. Google wouldn't even offer them that. But some plumbers offer weekend service or Sunday hours or 24-hour service. And so Google might offer a business who selected plumbing as their category to say, do you offer 24-hour service? So if that made sense for that particular plumber, they could click yes. And when people looked at their business profile, they would see a little message that says they do 24-hour service. Now, Google updates these attributes periodically. They don't make a big announcement about that. So if you've had a business profile for a while, I suggest you take a look at the attributes and see if there's anything new that might apply to your business. Maybe they added a new business attribute, or maybe your business has evolved and now you offer more things that might make sense. So definitely keep an eye on those. The next thing that you can do is write your business description. This is super important. Now, remember, I mentioned before that if you're in a really niche business, you may not be able to find a category that truly describes what you do. This is where the business description helps you out. An example I like to use here is last year I was doing a webinar like this, and somebody typed in and said, I make custom quilts out of t-shirts, just like this. She's like, I don't know what category to choose. I'm not a quilt shop. I'm not a seamstress. What am I? And so we kind of talked about that and said, you know what, this might be a good thing just to say you do gifts, which is pretty broad. But then in the description, this is the place to say we do custom quilts out of your old favorite t-shirts or something along those lines. Now, also in the description, you may have heard people talk about keywords as they relate to your primary website. And those are the words you think your ideal future customer is using when they're looking for information on Google. You want to have keywords in your description too. Now, keep in mind, hashtags don't really make a whole lot of sense here, so you don't need to worry about that. You do want to write your description in a way that is readable. You don't want it just to be like a whole long list of words that you're thinking, oh, these are all my keywords, but try and weave those keywords into your description. You have up to 750 characters, so use those characters because that will give your business profile the best opportunity of being found by the type of person who needs your products or services. Now, when it comes to appointments, there are different types of appointments that different types of businesses might offer. There are something called bookings and something called appointments, and these are available inside your business profile as well. So I'm going to talk about them separate. Bookings are typically used by third-party software tools, and they tend to be businesses like hair salons, nail salons, yoga studios, chiropractors, that type of thing. If you have that type of business where people need to book appointments with you, maybe one appointment for a haircut is half an hour, another appointment for haircut and color is an hour, maybe an appointment is with Susan, maybe an appointment is with Veronica. Chances are good you are probably already aware of third-party booking software. And those are things like Mindbody, Booksy, Booker, because most of us are women online here today. Chances are good, even if you haven't had to use one for your business, chances are good you probably used one of those tools in your personal life. If your business already uses one of those types of tools that you do have to pay for, you can link that tool to your business profile by linking that to the bookings on the back end of your business profile. Again, that's if you are already using some type of third-party software. For others of you, you don't need to pay for some type of monthly subscription for something like Mindbody. Maybe you just want to give people the opportunity to book a 15-minute consultation with you. If you already have a place on your website where people can schedule that, maybe it's simply a place like Calendly, or it's on Google Calendar. You can take the page on your website, copy the link to that page, and post that into the appointments area on the back end of your business profile. That way, when people are looking at your business profile, there'll be a highlighted area that says appointments. They can click on that appointment link, go to wherever it is on your website where people can schedule just that, quick and easy appointment, and away you go. So you've got a couple of different ways that you can connect with people. Now, going back to my conversation about the midwife, sometimes I'll talk to people they'll say, all of my business is only by appointment. How do I do that? I don't want to post my hours. How does that work? In that situation, definitely in your description, say something like, we talk to people by appointment only. Please click on the appointment links to schedule time to talk to us. That way people know, yes, sure, they can't call you, but this is how they can get in touch with you so they can find out if you're the right service for them. So that's bookings and appointments. Just kind of wanted to clarify because sometimes it gets a little confusing about which one is which. The next thing that I want to talk about are posts. Now, posts in your Google business profile are kind of sort of similar, but kind of different to posts that you do on social media. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make with posts on their business profile is they tend to think of it the same way that they do social media. Keep in mind, ideally, total complete random strangers who are your ideal future customers are seeing your posts on your business profile. They're not necessarily looking for the fun, quirky, goofy things that a lot of times we like to do on social media to show our personality. Your post on your business profile should be truly about your business. You've got a couple of different categories of posts that you can create on your business profile. There's a what's new post that makes sense for virtually every type of business. There is a product post. If you sell something like, this blue ballpoint pen, if you have physical products to sell, you can put that in a product post and actually have a link for people to click on that and buy now. All businesses can do some type of special offer, and all businesses can do some type of event. So you have a lot of flexibility with the posts. If you're not used to posting on your business profile, I definitely recommend you kind of start experimenting with that. Again, if somebody is looking at your business profile and your last post was for Thanksgiving hours, that's looking a little bit dated. It looks like you're not paying attention to the world. So be sure you're keeping those posts fresh. Now I'm going to talk about photos and videos. You, the business professional, want to be sure that you are uploading lots of your own photos to your business profile. And you can do that simply from your phone, or you can go to the dashboard through your computer and attach a photo that way. Your customers can also upload their own photos. And I get a lot of questions about customer photos. Sometimes customers might upload a photo that we think is not the most, it's not the way we want our business to be represented. We'll say that. And sometimes people will say, well, how can I make that photo go away? Chances, unfortunately, are you cannot. You can flag a photo and you can say to Google, hey, Google, this is a picture of somebody else's business. This is not my business at all. And then Google will investigate that and take that situation down. But just because it's a photo that you think, yeah, this isn't the best looking photo, Google probably won't take that down, which is why you want to upload lots of your own photos. You also can upload videos of up to 30 seconds. And it's probably easiest to do that with your phone as well. Now, for those of you that have brick and mortar businesses or you sell physical products like this pen, it's easy to come up with ideas for pictures. For others of you, if you have services, you may think, well, what can I possibly take a picture of? If somebody writes you a nice thank you note, take a picture of that. Let's say you're an accountant. You can have a picture of a 1099 form. So just kind of be creative about that. You want to have your own pictures so that way you are controlling the message. It is important that you have photos though, because 90% of customers are more likely to use a business if they can see pictures of the business when they're searching for information on Google. You know, folks, thanks to social media, we expect that. We want to know, what's the, for lack of better words, what's the flavor of the business? Are they very official and formal? That may be something that you want for an accountant or for an attorney. Are they young and friendly? Or are they, a little bit more, serene? Let people know what the flavor of your business is. The next thing that you can do is you can add the services for your business, if that makes sense for your business. Now, remember I told you you could not create your own business category. You can create your own services. I see some people are starting to ask questions. I will get to those kind of at the end of the presentation. People can create your own services. So you've got an opportunity here to customize those and let people know how it is you can help them. Now we're going to talk really briefly about reviews. And reviews are always a hot topic of conversation. And to be honest, this is one of the times where I'm happy that I'm doing a webinar, not in-person presentations, because in the old days when I was doing in-person presentations, inevitably somebody would stomp up to me after the presentation with a frustrated look on their face, and I knew what was going on. They wanted a review to be removed. So just like with photos, Google is unlikely to remove any reviews that people write about you on Google. Now, you do want to encourage your loyal, happy customers to write reviews about your business. Sometimes you might have a grouchy customer who writes a review about your business. If you do have any review, Google will send you an email and they will say, hey, great news, you've got a review. You might look at the review and say, oh, this is so nice of them to write this review. I definitely recommend you respond back to every review. With your positive reviews, say something as simple as, thank you so much. I really love helping people just like you. If somebody writes a negative review, give yourself a couple of hours to calm down, but you do also want to respond to that negative review. You do not ever want to leave those negative reviews just ignored, because keep in mind, strangers will see that negative review. Strangers will see how you respond to that negative review. Don't get defensive. Don't point out what a jerk that other person was. Don't go kind of on the offensive. All you want to do is keep a total, complete random strangers in mind and say something like, I'm so sorry you had that experience. Please contact us directly, and so we can learn a little bit more about what happened. Now, you may know exactly what happened. The person was a nightmare. However, nobody needs to know that. You want to take the high road when it comes to responding to your reviews. And that's the case for anywhere where there would be online reviews. Somebody is going to look like a jerk. Don't let it be you. You want to look like, the expert. Let that other person that wrote that horrible review, let that person look like the jerk. And people will understand when they read those reviews. After that, then there is something called messaging. Messaging defaults to being off in your business profile. You might want to consider turning this on. If you turn on the messaging feature, when people look at your profile on their itty-bitty smartphone, there will be a little button that they can tap that says messages, and then they can send you a quick little message. Now, you don't need to give anybody your cell phone number. It's not technically a text message. It works kind of within the business profile itself, just like if you're sending people a direct message through your social media accounts. It works exactly the same way. Now, thing to understand, though, is this is either on 24/7 or it's completely off. As of yet, you cannot schedule when the messaging feature is available. So you do have the opportunity to set up an auto response. And you can say something as simple as, thank you for your message. If you've contacted us during business hours, we'll get to you by the end of the business day. If you've contacted us after business hours, we'll get to you first thing on the beginning of our next business day. It's important to do that just so that way people don't feel like you're ignoring them if they text you at 2 a.m. on Sunday morning when your business is closed. Sometimes people are reluctant to turn this on because they say, do you know what? People can Facebook me, they can email me, they'll call me, they can look at my website. How many more ways can I have people, pinging, dinging, sending me information? Keep in mind, your ideal future customer may not be able to call you right now because maybe they're at work and their boss is right next to them. Or maybe they have a question about something for their kid's birthday party. And maybe you offer services for birthday parties and their kids are right there. So some people would be much more comfortable actually sending a quick little message and getting a response back from you than calling you. So give it a try if you have not yet turned that on. Now, I know that there is a lot to do with your business profile. And the good news is you don't necessarily have to do every single little thing yourself. If there is somebody who you want to delegate responsibility to all or some aspects of your business profile, you can do that by setting up users. Now, this is super important. Do not ever give anybody your password to your Google account, which would give them access to your business profile. And I have heard too many horror stories of stuff like this. I know some of you may decide that it's a business decision that you would make to potentially pay somebody to set up your website. And they might say, oh, for X dollars a month, I can manage your business profile for you. And you could say, fantastic, I don't have time for this. And then they set it up and you completely ignore it. The thing to keep in mind is business relationships always end, frequently for good reasons. Maybe you have outgrown that particular vendor, or maybe you have hired an employee to do certain things. I have heard stories of people feeling like their business profile has been kind of held captive by some other person who set it up under their own account. So you do want to be sure that you're setting this up in your own account. Do not give people your password. You can set up other people as a user in your account, in which case then they would log in using their own email address. Maybe you have an intern, maybe you have an employee, maybe you just have a friend who likes to do photos and your friend has volunteered to upload some graphics for you. Always be sure you set up that person as a user. That way, when that business relationship ends, you don't have to freak out about changing your password. You can simply go into your account and disable their ability to manage it for you. You can set up different levels. Some people, maybe you just want to say, you can updo pictures, but I don't want you messaging customers or responding to reviews because maybe they don't know enough about your business to do that. So you have a lot of flexibility there. Okay, I am getting down to the end. And so I'm going to go through questions here in just a couple of minutes. So if you do have questions, go ahead and type them into the chat. And I'll try to kind of scroll through them and try and get to some of those questions. Couple of things. Let's kind of go back to basics because I know this is a lot of information. First of all, if you do have a business profile, or if after today's presentation, you decide to set up your business profile, make it a habit of looking at it on a regular basis. Sometimes people will say to me, how frequently should I do it? That depends on what your business schedule is like. Maybe to take a look at it twice a month. That would be a good place to start. Be sure that you've got a business description that is accurate, that uses those keywords that we talked about. Be sure you're uploading your own photos and videos so that way people can see kind of the flavor of your business. Experiment with posts. Be sure people know what's going on with your business right now. Now, the one thing that I did not talk about at all in this presentation is the Google Business Profile will give you a lot of insights, which is basically data about how groups of people interact with your business profile. Now, I don't go into this presentation here just because most people are more interested in how can they actually maximize their business profile. Just know if you've had a business profile for a while, you might want to take a look at the insights because it's got some really great information on that. Kind of a related question that I frequently get about insights is, can I attach Google Analytics to my business profile? And the answer is no, because you don't need to, because the business profile has its own insights, which basically are its own analytics. Now, I do want to share with you another free resource that Google has to offer for many businesses. If you have a brick and mortar business, if you are in certain business categories, you can download what is called a free marketing kit. With this marketing kit, Google will kind of scan through your business profile and give you options to create print-ready art that is available in a PDF format. There can be posters, table tents, flyers, that type of thing. Again, this is not available for all businesses, unfortunately. If you are a home-based business, maybe you're a life coach and you talk to people on the phone, it wouldn't necessarily make sense to have a poster in, your kitchen window. But if you want to look and see if you're eligible for this, you can go to g.co/marketing kit. There is also a different version of this marketing kit that is focused on Black-owned businesses. So if that applies to you, you can go to g.co/marketing kit-Black-owned. Now, if you go to one of those websites and it says something like build your business profile, that simply means that your category is not eligible to download these things, unfortunately. But give it a try to see if it's available for you. All right, as I promised, I am aware that you might forget a lot of what it is that I've talked about here today. So if there's nothing else you remember, I do want you to remember Grow with Google. That is the program that I'm a speaker for. That is the program that Google has to provide all kinds of free information to different audiences. Obviously, we're here today talking about small businesses and small nonprofits. You can find our website at google.com/grow, and you can navigate to all kinds of additional training information, more resources, straight through the Grow with Google website. So if you don't remember anything, remember Grow with Google. Now, I have a question or a favor to ask for all of you. At Google, we are going through the process of trying to revamp a lot of our presentations. So if you could take a minute to do a quick little survey for us and let us know, what did you learn today? And is there anything that might help you grow your business that you learned today? That would be great. If you are watching today's webinar on your computer, you can pull out your smartphone, scan the QR code. If you're watching today's presentation on your smartphone, you can go to g.co/grow/feedback. I think there's only a couple of questions on that quick little survey, and that will help us create better things for people just like you in the future. Finally, I do invite you to join us all again next month. On June 17th, I'm doing another webinar just like today called Reach Customers Online with Google. In that webinar, I'm going to be talking all about your primary website and how can you use that to reach your ideal future customer. I'm going to talk a little bit about some quick and easy ways that you can trigger Google's algorithms to hopefully show up higher in Google's organic search rankings. And I'm also going to touch really briefly on how you can be proactive about reaching your ideal future customer through online advertising with Google. Just know it's not a sales pitch to sell you ads. Google doesn't pay me to do that. But I get a lot of questions about ads. So I do like to talk about it in the one that I'm doing next month. That's on June 17th, same time. It's being promoted by the same women's business centers and WeVenture. So be on the lookout for email communication from them, because they will absolutely let you know how you can register for the one that I'm doing for you all up in June. All right, so that takes me to the end of my official presentation. Bear with me here. I'm going to go through the chats and see if I can answer some of the questions you all have put in. Just so you know, sometimes people will ask a question at the beginning of my presentation, and I know I'm going to be answering it at the end, so I may not. If you ask me a question that I already answered, I probably won't go through that again. All right, so let's see what we have here. All right, so Cinda asked a good question. I have a Google account for a while, but I haven't updated it for a while. How do I change the address online? I'm a contractor who works from home. So Cinda, what you need to do is you need to go into the back end of your business profile. And in the info area, that's where you have the opportunity to see what your address is. You would want to delete that address and then save your change. And then over the course of time, your address should fade away off of Google Maps. So hopefully that answers that question. All right, Shanna asked a question. I have a virtual address. Can that work with Google search for a location? So when you're talking about virtual, there's a couple of different things. Some people have, maybe there's one of those, maybe there's like an office resource where you pay them a certain amount a month to have a business address. Maybe if you need to have a meeting room, then you can use their facility there. If there is somebody that staffs that area, basically during regular business hours, if there's a receptionist who's there to pick up the mail, you may be able to use that address as your business address. Just be mindful, though, that if a stranger says, oh my gosh, Shanna's got the perfect resource for me, I'm just going to pop in. If they, get in their car, drive to that virtual office building, which would be a real building, but it's your virtual address. if they show up and the door is locked because you're not there, you're not giving them a good experience. So just be careful about that. But you can. I would only recommend it if there is like a receptionist or somebody that's there, all the time. All right. Jordan asked a good question. Should I use my personal Google account or create a new one for my Google business profile? I have my own domain email. So if you have your own domain email for your business, it's www.jordansbusiness.com. If you have an email address that is tied to that, if it's like jordan@jordansbusiness.com, there is a reasonable likelihood that it might actually already be what's called a Google Workspace account that used to be called G Suite. You may be able to just go ahead and set up your business profile using that. If it's not related to Google at all, maybe it's something from Yahoo or something else like that, you can actually go to google.com/accounts and register a non-Google email address, even like AOL email address, as a Google account and use that for your business profile. Technically, it doesn't really matter what email address you use for your business profile because nobody except for Google and you will actually ever see that. Personally, I like to kind of keep my personal world and my professional world kind of split. If you're not sure about that, that's definitely a great conversation to have with somebody at WeVenture or at one of the women's business centers. And they can kind of talk to you a little bit about what's the best way to be sure that you're setting some boundaries for yourself. So hopefully that answers that question. All right, Karen asked the question that I get asked all the time, Karen. We get 8 to 10 phone calls a week from companies claiming to be Google. Really? Are they really, or are they not? Google virtually never reaches out to small businesses and calls you. Google periodically might test doing pilot programs to encourage small businesses to try doing advertising on Google. There may be other third-party businesses that are truly legitimate business service providers who may reach out to you and say, hey, I'm a Google partner, and I'll be happy to help you with your business profile. If anybody is calling from Google, you can always ask for their email address. Nobody from Google who is not a full-time employee or a full-time contractor will ever have an @google.com email address. I am a professional trainer for Google. I am part of the Google team. I am not an employee and I'm not a full-time contractor, which is why I do not have an @google.com email address. Also for everybody, nobody from Google will ever ask you for your credit card number. If anybody calls you up and says, hey, I'm from Google, I can set up your Google business profile. Great. What's your credit card number? Put your phone away and never answer that person's call again. Now, having said that, there are absolutely good, reputable local businesses in your community who can help you set up and manage your business profile. And if you decide that that's something that you want to do because it makes sense for your business, that's perfectly okay. Just know you don't ever have to pay anybody anything. All right, let's see. Next question for photos. What if you are a home-based business? If you are a home-based business, think about the business category that you have. And think about, okay, are there other pictures you can upload that might give people the feeling of what your business is all about? Let's say you're a home-based life coach. You can have pictures of people looking happy and that type of thing. So it gets a little bit trickier if you are in that kind of soft sell type business, but just be creative about the different types of pictures you can put up. All right, next question. Would it be ideal to put a consultation link in the appointments section? If that makes sense for your business, absolutely. If you offer consultations, put that in there. That way people can book those consultations with you. Again, you can set that up. Now, if you get a whole bunch of people that are scheduling kind of useless consultations with you, you can always turn that off. So give it a try and see what happens. Let's see. All right, so let me go back to see some of the other questions people have put on here. All right, Interesting question. I get an invoice from Google each month for a few years for $1.99, but I can't get in touch with Google to see what that charge is for. Do I have an idea? I have no idea what that charge for $1.99 is. The only thing that Google typically would charge a small business for could be their Google Workspace accounts. So if you ever set up what used to be called a G Suite account, that might be what that charge is for. The other thing that Google might potentially charge for is in your Google Drive. If you use Google Drive and you've got a ton of files in there, you may have bumped up to a larger category that there might be some fee for on that. So those are the only things that I can think of that could be charged.
And I just wanted to tell you, first, I wanted to apologize for my mood yesterday. I didn't expect to be stiffed.
All right. Do you know what?
We've got event like that.
We've got somebody who's talking on mute, and if we can, or unmuted, if we can, there we go. Okay, thank you. All right. Let's see, a couple of other things here. Oh, Katrine Fredrickson, who is actually one of my long-term associates in Google. She said it could also be for, she's one of my long-term associates. We used to work together. She has her own business, Easy Marketing, and she's in the Jacksonville area. Says it could be for a Google phone number, could be potentially that charge as well. So thank you, Katrine, for that. Lisa asks, if I don't verify, will I be deleted? I'm unaware that you would be deleted, but you can't really do anything with it. So you would just kind of have an empty shell of a business profile, which is not a good idea, because then when people look at it, they're going to say, well, there's no information here. Not sure if this business even exists.
Actually, it came out wrong. I'm sorry. It was, if I don't verify, then I'll be deleted.
Oh, okay.
Reporting says, and then I've gone through like 100 times and tried to verify it. But because I have 3 different Google email addresses, it doesn't change it and update what I want. And it just keeps saying, okay, you're not verified. And then it asks if I want to place an ad. And if I don't want to place an ad, then I stop at that point, and it comes back the next day and says, you didn't verify.
Yep. Okay. All right. So that's a great question. What I'm going to do here as we're winding things up, because I did run a little bit long, is I'm putting in the chat for everybody a couple of resources where if you have problems with your business profile, the first resource that I put in there is a link to support, which may not be helpful for you because you may have already gone through this whole support thing. Other things that I've heard people have had really good success with getting information about their business profile is to reach out on social media to the Google Business Profile team. And I think that there's something about reaching out on Twitter or on Facebook because it's a public thing. Sometimes people have told me they've had really good responses that way and have had good situations where they've gotten their issues resolved. Google is also piloting a program where you can pay $40, last time I checked, to work one-on-one with a Google business advisor, which would be either a Google employee or a Google full-time contractor. Because there is a charge for that, that is always my least preferred option. But I just kind of wanted to let you all know that those are some resources you might want to try when you have situations like that. Just know, I understand it's frustrating. Sometimes it's hard to get support from Google. Google tends not to devote staffing to their free tools. So because this is a free tool, it can be a little bit harder to get support for it than it might be for Google Ads or something that you actually have to pay for. All right, so that takes me to the end of my conversation. I apologize for running a little bit late. I kind of snuck into some of the networking time. So at this point, this takes me to the end of what I wanted to talk to you all about. So if my friends at Anna Maria, if there was something that you needed to do to switch everybody into the breakout rooms, that would be great.
Yeah, so we are going to split you guys into breakout rooms. I believe our friends down south are going to do that, but this will be kind of a great time